Hey, Nom.
Hey, Jeremy.
So, you are pumping the listeners with your newest pick for this episode, A Knight's Tale. Is that correct?
Yes, my 2000s pick, or my 2000s decade pick, whatever we want to call it, the double O's. We are going into the realm of A Knight's Tale, Heath Ledger's movie.
Yes. Would you say is his? I don't want to jump the gun and say his breakout movie, but it definitely got his name out there a little bit more than I want to say.
I would say it was definitely an interesting one. I mean, it was just kind of a continuation of 10 Things I Hate About You, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was just him. He was the heartthrob, and they were just wanting to do that kind of like continue. I guess he was getting typecasted, which I mean it makes sense because he's a good. I mean he's a good looking dude. Um, God rest his soul, but I mean he's a good looking dude. So I mean I can understand why he would play these roles like the love or like the heartthrob roles
Mm-hmm.
in a romantic comedy ish, whatever you want to call this. This is kind of a romantic comedy.
So, first off, before you tell me why'd you pick this movie, are you in general a fan of medieval kind of films, fantasy kind of stuff like that? Is that your forte, or you kind of nitpick?
To be fair, I think I am in a lot of senses kind of like I like this kind of genre of filming more than I like let's say
Like
like
King Arthur?
space or
Okay.
I'm sorry, say
Sorry,
what
sorry.
were you,
You're talking about other genres. Go on. I'm sorry.
well I like the medieval times more than I like war movies
Okay.
or space movies in general.
Mm-hmm.
Or yeah, I would say those comparable to those two. The more I think about it, the more I remember watching movies like like King Arthur
Mm-hmm.
or The Black Knight with Martin Lawrence or
Robin Hood.
Robin Hood, things like
Mm-hmm.
that too as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say I wouldn't say I knew and knowingly like this particular genre in general, but the fact that you mentioned it, the more I think about it, it's a fair assessment.
Okay. Okay. So now it comes up to the question, why this particular film out of the library of medieval films that you pick from? We're talking about King Arthur, with Clive Owens that they introduced again.
Yes.
You're talking about Robin Hood, not the Russell Crowe one. No. I'm talking about the one with Kevin Costner. The one
Yeah.
way back. I mean, hell, Sean Connery had a night movie. I think it's called The First Night with
Yeah.
I forgot what's his face. So there's been a lot of kind of medieval kind of
Yeah.
films, even from Kingdom of Heaven, I guess you can count that
Yeah.
kind of medieval,
Yeah,
but it's more
Kingdom of Heaven would
Crusader.
be. I mean, I would count it as close to it as you could.
Yeah, even like like Fantasy with Dragons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Why this one for the listeners?
And actually, the funny thing about this one is that I didn't choose it because it was a medieval movie. I thought it was just it's one of my favorite. It's one of my more enjoyable movies. I wouldn't say like favorite as in like it's a masterpiece because it's not a masterpiece, but it was one of those movies that I can always pop on and just enjoy and just kind of smile and have fun with because the movie itself doesn't take itself seriously as far as like being in the medieval times because obviously you're not going to have Queen playing in the background.
The way they set it up, though, like if you watch the movie,
Right?
it was kind of like I guess that's kind of believable, except the rock part. But anybody could do that, so it was pretty brilliant in a sort of way.
Yeah.
So,
Like I found the funny thing about this movie, the story behind this movie to me was I actually went on a date to go watch this movie. I didn't really know anything about this movie when I went to go on the date. Her name was Julie. She chose the movie, and shout out to Julie. She chose the movie, and I just kind of went and watched it. And I thought it was really nice. I thought it was really cute,
mhm.
and I really dig the story. And of course, Shannon Saserman. She's the lead character and lead actress or female actor,
Mhm.
who plays Jocelyn in the movie is fantastic. I think she's one of the more beautiful people that I've seen too as well.
Mm-hmm.
Then of course I think there's a lot of people in this movie that you'll recognize, whether it's Alan Turk or was it I forgot his last name. I can't really say his
Okay.
last name.
Mm-hmm.
But he's from Firefly. He's also from Rogue One. He's also from a lot of sci-fi movies or shows that you've probably seen. Paul Bettany, Vision,
Mm-hmm.
as well. And of course, we all know who Heath Ledger is as well. But I think you run into characters in this movie that you're just like, oh, I know who that is, or I've seen him in another movie. And even the main villain, Count Adamar, Rufus Sewell, who's like in who's like the villain in like every medieval movie you can possibly watch.
Right. One icon everybody knows, Gladiator. So
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Which
So,
go listen to. Good episode. Go on.
Yes, a good episode for us too as well.
Mm-hmm.
All of our episodes are good, but that one was good too.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah.
My other question for this movie, when you went to go see it, were you going into this movie kind of like it's whatever, or was it more of like, I don't know, I guess I'm wondering, like, were you going in kind of just already low expectations and not really caring?
I would say I went in with low expectations because I didn't know what was going on. I was happy just to spend time with the girl, with the gal that I was with at the time. We never ended up like dating as like a boyfriend girlfriend, but we went on a couple dates. So I was excited to be with her, and she was excited to see this movie. So it was worth the admission to me. And when I watched it, I fell in love. I fell in love with the movie too. So it's one of those movies that I find myself watching every year, just because I think it's kind of cute in the way they implement, even just like they implement certain like present day stuff into the movie, which a lot of people I think can be like, oh, it's super corny, and I'm like, yeah, I get it, but I thought it was kind of clever, like the we will rock you thing that you point out to, like little things like that. And I will tell you, I always remember Paul Bettany's Geoffrey Chaucer, because he's got some funny one-liners, but he gets me so hyped up when he does his introduction of Heath Ledger during the movie, and it's one of those speeches that I'm just like, oh man, this dude is like legit, like great with words. I like him as an actor. So
I also saw this in theaters. I went with a group of friends.
Really?
Yeah, I went with a group of friends. Saw the trailer. It was interesting. But I think at the time, I guess I wasn't into medieval that I thought I was at the time. But
that's fair.
But this movie I think, is a good intro for people that might not get into medieval. Now, I'm not saying like this is the ultimate, like you said, this ain't like the ultimate best the movie. But
yeah, you're gonna go watch it, if you're watching it, just watch it with a grain of salt and just enjoy the environment and enjoy what they do.
Yeah.
But you go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The fact that it kind of met both ways, it brought you something where you can connect to as a modern person, and they try to be a little bit modern, but also too just to show you like this is what it was like back in the time. So it kind of met the middle ground of that, and just the fact, like you mentioned, everybody kind of, you got a hype man, you got this crew coming in, and everybody likes that. It's almost like you can relate this to like a baseball team, race car team, all this stuff. It's like, here's this squad coming in to wreck shop, and people are like, who is this group? You know? So
it's a journey, right? We just enjoy the journey of the movie, right? Because it's a kid who came from rags and wants to be a knight. So
yeah, I
mean, you can't hate that, you know. And you got his friends who are loyal to him and who will help him try to succeed the best way that they can. And you know, and you got a villain. I would say Count Adamar is a pretty good villain, someone who you really kind of genuinely dislike during the movie too as well.
He has the face for it too. So let's punchable face, right? So let's go.
So do I, but still.
So the trailer, it's about 2 minutes, and from my point of view of it, it packed a lot of stuff in there. Some of it might be a little bit spoilers to people. I think the beginning with the rock song by Queen was good. And they kind of brought everything they want to show you, but I think it kind of stretched too long, especially in where they wanted to just put out this giant rock song at the end from I don't know, it was Rob Zombie, but just bringing this other song kind of like it's kind of losing itself its way on this trailer. And I feel like it could have stopped a little bit before. But you got to see them, you know, how they got prep. You got to see that there's jousting involved. You see that there's these champions. You see this princess that's interested. They basically give you a blueprint of what's all going on. My only problem is I think it went just a little bit too long, and it could have stopped a long time ago. Probably halfway to me. What about you?
Man, I enjoyed the trailer for what it is. You know, now that you mentioned it too, I think this is like the only movie about jousting. Like I can't think of
Focus on
anything
jousting, yes. Yes, focus on jousting, yes.
Yeah, because I mean, if you didn't know anything about jousting, this does a good job of letting you know what jousting's all about and how it scores. Because I had no idea anything about jousting, like zero. Like I know what it was, but I didn't know the scoring. I didn't know anything about it. So I thought that was kind of neat too, as well. Because it was more the quote unquote sports aspect of the movie versus the actual, you know, like King Arthur, the lore, the story, the atmosphere. So it's kind of it was unique in that range. The trailer itself was really interesting to me because I think it was pretty straightforward with what it was. It was like it's kind of a cute romantic. It's a romantic comedy, not in the sense of what you expect out of like a John Hughes movie or even like anything close to what like a 10 Things I Hate About You. But it's a romantic comedy, sports romantic comedy build in the medieval ages. We're with a little bit of a present day element, and I didn't really think it. To me, for 2 minutes on that trailer, I can see where you said it lasted a little bit long. I don't think it gave away too much, but it just kind of gave you what you should expect during this movie. And then, you know, you get the extreme cliff notes of the movie, like highlights of the movie, and then everything else you get to watch. When you get to watch it, you get to see that journey and get to fill it in from there on out.
Okay.
So I think the trailer, to me, I mean, I've never watched the trailer when I went to go watch it the first time around. This is actually probably the first time per se that I've seen the trailer. For me, I think the trailer itself, if I didn't know anything about the movie, I don't know if it wouldn't have necessarily sold me, because I don't know if it would have been like my cup of tea during that time or even now. Because the actors in the movie, you know, they weren't really known. You know, Heath Ledger only did one or two movies per se before this. The next, Shannon Saserman, you may know her from other movies. I don't remember if she did this one first or if she did like 4 Days, 40 Nights with Josh Hartnett and whatnot beforehand. Paul Bettany, whether or not you followed his career or not, he was kind of like, I don't really know what was his breakout movie.
I
Paul
don't
Bettany.
quite know. I think the movie though after he did was Wimbledon with the tennis. I want to say that started kind of getting his rise, and then Priest and all this stuff.
Yeah, he did Wimbledon. The next he did Angels and Demons, and then he did the Da Vinci Code and stuff like that. And that's when you started seeing him. And then he also, what was that movie where he was the priest? Was it called The Priest?
Yeah, based on a manga. Yeah, I believe it's called Priest.
I was like, where is the priest? That one, yeah. I mean, whether you followed his career or not, you know. And then next, of course, you know, same thing with I think Alan as well, who played Watt. You know, you only really knew him if you were in the sci-fi and kind of followed his career too as well. I think this was one of those movies that broke him out for me.
Yeah, and I will say though, like even though the trailer's long, I believe that the trailer needed to be shaped like that, because if it was just a straight traditional trailer with no rock music, all this stuff, it actually be kind of boring. I probably won't go see it. So the music kind of helped it out. I just think the rock was too hard at the end, but that Queens is a hype song. Like no matter what, I think you can put that in mostly any trailer and that will get people going. Like okay, I see where this is going. All right, I'm hype. I'm hype. So they did a good job of shaping
I give you that.
And so
yeah, I definitely give you that too as well. Yeah, I think they did a good job with the trailer. Whether or not it would have interested me, I probably would have said no.
Okay.
Personally, I mean, what about you?
I'd be a yes, because that rock music hypes me up. It fooled me. It fooled me. Like okay, and I'm that's the power of editing. If you edit right, that'd be like, that's cool. I want to see that dun dun, and then someone gets hit in the chest with one of the jousts right when the beat goes. So it's clever in that way. And I guess for me that the edits a lot of stuff. I understand it a little bit more, and I appreciate that they went out of their way to, get it with that instead of just letting it play just to play and just throw stuff up there. So
That's fair. That's right. You know, looking at the trailer again, I think it would be a good date movie. Just like I probably at that time, if I had seen it at that time, I'd probably take a date, like which I did. Of course, she chose the movie, but I mean, if I would probably think to myself, you know, it'd be a good date movie if somebody is interested in like that kind of like style. But I think that would work. But you know, just me by myself, probably not.
Okay.
So.
Well, with that being said, we're gonna go check out the movie, and when we come back, we'll tell you what our minds think of The Knight's Tale. We'll be right back. Yeah. And we're back after watching A Knight's Tale. And before we put it in our opinions and our thoughts about it, Nam, what can you say about A Knight's Tale?
Well, A Knight's Tale is a PG-13 action adventure romance movie that released back on May 11th, 2001.
So on the videos people are watching, do you have something written on the board in front of you? Or are you trying to remember it all in your head?
Oh, I have my screen. I have a new setup this time around. I don't have. Normally, I generally have it on the screen where it's covering your face, but I actually have it on my monitor.
Okay, because from my look, it looks like you're like, okay, it was PG-13. It was like what?
Did it look like I was just thinking about it?
Yeah, that's what it looked like. That's why I was getting confused. I'm like, wait, what?
So I'm a pretty solid actor is what's going on here.
Yeah.
Anyways, this movie was 2 hours and 12 minutes, 132 minutes for people who just want to hear it that way. Had a budget of 65 million, did 117.5 million in the box office. So
my question,
actually, before we go too far I watched this movie on Amazon What about you?
I did too.
All right, so we both watched the same version of this movie.
Yes.
On Amazon Prime, so just to let you guys know, you can catch this on other movies like Voodoo.
Voodoo. Mm-hmm.
This is where we add the Voodoo plug, but we're not going to do that today.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like a 5-minute spill on Voodoo.
All right. So my question I want to ask you is, does this movie want you to try jousting one time?
Heck no, man. First off, I would have to learn how to ride the horse, not to get or get unseated while still on the horse, and then hoping that I don't get like jabbed into like the arm with the freaking stick.
Mm-hmm.
It made jousting look really cool, but I don't know if I would necessarily want to do jousting. What about you?
I would like to try it once and then never do it again. Just to say I did it. Because I guess it's almost like, I don't know. I guess I just want to see how it feels to feel that adrenaline of like two people just colliding like that.
And then the abrupt like hit and falling off.
Yeah, just for that and then not do it anymore. But just to say, like, I did it and it was interesting because, like, you in the movie, you just see so many of these scenes happen, and it does kind of drive your curiosity of, like, to take that much pain, wearing the armor and everything like that. It's just like, and do it for sports, right? It makes it intriguing of, like, I wonder just getting hit one time would feel compared to them getting hit multiple times. As William Thatcher mentioned that he doesn't mind getting hit. I'm like, whew, all right, do you? So
I mean, when you do, I'll be there, Jeremy. Then I'll stand over you and be like,
"You have been weighed. You have been measured,
and you absolutely
have been found wanting.
You have been weighed, you have been measured, and you have been found hurting, not wanting, because you're hurting right now.
You would be that one after I go off. You're rolling with the whole swinging arm, like that's you.
Go,
that is you all the way. When I thought of it, was like, that's Knob right there.
And then I'd sit there with like, get it in the cradle, get it in the cradle, get it in the cradle. Jeremy, get it in the cradle.
Yeah,
get it in the cradle, get it in the cradle.
Definitely. Definitely that.
Something along that lines.
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
So my question is, we watched it, we got through the journey, it told a story. How did it feel watching it again? And was there anything different as experienced than the last time you watched it?
It's different because we're actually trying to do a conversation about it, more or less, where we try to pick it apart a little bit. How I felt about the movie was exactly how I felt about the movie, just kind of going into it and before, is that I really enjoyed the movie for what it is. And like, there's something about journey movies that we both like, I think, just in general. And there's something about journey movies where you can, if you build like a good friendship, like a good like companionship with everyone else on the cast, that makes it so entertaining to me. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I think you and I complain about quite often, and I don't mean that in like a nice way. I mean, we complain about it quite often. Mm-hmm. Is about the time of the movie. And for me, might be different for you, but for me, 2 hours and 12 minutes felt better than some of the movies we've seen in the past. As far as lengthwise is concerned, like it didn't really, to me, it didn't really feel horrifyingly slow anywhere, to the point where I felt like it really didn't make sense not to have that particular part in the movie. What about you?
Yeah, I think that I have no problem with a movie being longer as long as, they're using that time to give us that extra time. But could that movie still be sliced a little bit? Yeah, sure. There's some little things you can cut here and there in it. But the question is it worth it? No, it's worth it just leaving it on there and just let it be, Yeah,
because I think a lot of the times that they used like the extra minutes, like you learn something about someone or something, eventually somebody in the group that you actually kind of cared about, whether it be Roland, Watt, Kate, Christiana, or Geoffrey Chaucer, or even William or his dad Jocelyn, or even when you learn more about Count Adamar, which the more I watch this movie, I'm just like, man, he has such a punchable face.
He does, and I actually would argue that I don't think he got enough screen time.
That's fair.
I think he deserved a little more screen time. If I were to chip off to give him more screen time, maybe just cut some of the jousting fights.
Yeah,
that's the only thing I would cut personally, but I like watching those at the same time. But I think Adamar deserved a little bit more screen time because he was there at the beginning, and then they kind of push him off for the war, and then he come back for this. And I wish he was kind of there in his own way, making his way up to this championship in his own way, instead of like, well, here I am. I decided to show up because, you're winning, so I got to shut that down. Yeah. So
just like, Black Jesus, Michael Jordan retired for a little bit and then came back. So it was just one of those things where I do agree. I think Count Adamar could have used a little bit more time in there as well. And I don't actually blame you for saying, cut some of the jousting scenes, a little bit of the jousting scenes, because if you watch the jousting scenes, a lot of them were, they were reused. Some parts were reused, and there's a lot of continuity issues as well. The interesting thing about it was the jousting in the movie was all real. Like, there was real jousting. None of the actors did the jousting, but they had real jousters, and they used linguini as the splinters. So like when it broke, like pasta and linguine and stuff like that flew around. So I thought they did a really good job, because I was just like, man, that is a crap ton of splinters just going everywhere. Mm-hmm. So reading up on that and just kind of seeing that was kind of interesting in itself. So, I was watching the movie and I was thinking to myself, it starts off where Sir Ector's dead, which is hilarious. But they just straight took the armor off this dude, and what did they do with the body? Did they just leave him there?
I think they left it there. Was there a river?
I don't know. I don't
If
remember.
it was a river, then that's my first choice. If not, yeah, they left him in the tree. I mean,
They just let him sit
I
there.
think they had to leave him in the tree because they had to hurry up.
Yeah,
They don't have time to deal with the body. Did they come back to it? Hell no.
I was like, did they try to bury him? No, ain't nobody. You're telling me ain't nobody from that tournament walked around and was like, what the hell was that?
And ain't that a damn shame that like you see a clip of his past when he first gets recruited by him and he treats him like that at the end.
Yeah, that was my exact.
Like at the end, like towards the more end of the movie, like they treat him like, man, he's a really nice guy. Man, you guys are a piece of shit for leaving by the tree.
He took you in. He fed you. He taught you how to fight with the sword. He taught you how to joust, sort of.
Yeah.
As a practice target, and you just let him die and just took his shit and just walked away.
Yeah, I'm like, huh.
Then you didn't even get
another thing they should have cut.
Then you didn't even like tell his next of kin that he's been dead. You just like, fuck it, he's gone.
Yeah, you would think that instead of coming up with the name so Ulrich, like they could have just took that guy's name. Who's gonna call him out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was one of the things I thought was kind of clever, like at the very beginning of the movie, where like they jousted and his helmet was so knocked or caved in that he couldn't take it off. They were like, we all know who Hector is. We all know who he looks like, quote unquote. Like everyone knows what he looks like. So if he took the helmet off, the gig's up, and he couldn't take it off because it was like dented in as much as what you would expect to have happen to like was it the dude from G.I. Joe?
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah. Sorry, I can't think of the name right now, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I can't. I had it in my mind for like 2 seconds. Like I keep wanting to say King Cobra, but I don't think that's.
Commander Cobra.
Cobra Commander.
Yeah, Cobra Commander. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Cave in Cobra Commander's face there.
Yeah.
How could they do this to me?
Did you feel? I guess when I watched this movie, I felt like now that I sit there and analyze it, it feels like a rock movie in a weird way about a band of people going to try to be these awesome stars, and they have their crew and their entourage, and they're just trying to make a name for themselves, going to these shows, rocking it. It almost feels like a rock band forming together, go on this road trip to become big. And you got the princess is kind of like a groupie and all this stuff. I feel like it almost feels like they're like a rock band coming to rock the shows and stuff like that. Weirdly enough,
like a gang of people who are just there to like just for entertainment purposes, and they band together, and you learn a little bit about one of them, and he's trying to like hook up with the hottest girl that's in the group or the groupie or whatever.
Yeah, it's this really interesting. That's what I got, and I think it's mainly because the way they portrayed it, like going into each battle, kind of winging it wherever it goes. You have Jeffrey, that's kind of like the hype man of the band. Or he could be the singer. I don't care. And Williams Thatcher could be the bass player or the main guitarist in this. But you see him, coming in, rocking it out with everybody with his giant speeches and stuff like that. And he's like, "Thank you, I'll be here all week." And he's like, "Thank you, I'm here all day." It just feels like a rock group. Like here, like we're different from everybody else. Like you guys can do the orchestra, but we're rock and roll when we come in here. I don't know. It's just kind of interesting to kind of look at.
Yeah, it's like they go in with their own style. Like everyone's kind of old and busted, and they're like, we're the new hotness.
I drive the new hotness. Old and busted, new hotness.
Yeah.
Check us out. That was one of the things too that you mentioned, just the whole rock person group environment, which I can completely see. But the soundtrack I enjoyed a lot in this movie, just because there's a lot of the old classic rock songs that we both generally enjoy. And I thought it actually fit for what it was. I mean, because instead of going with the period music or anything like that they normally do in like movies like these, they went with more of like a modern rock version of the music. And one of the things I really liked about this movie that I didn't think about is one of the things I liked about the Ocean's 11 movie is just that dialogue was very slick. I think the dialogue was the way they delivered how they the way they delivered their lines and stuff like that, and just the lines that was written for them was actually really cool and was kind of amazing. Like I thought that was like smooth, where he was just like, what's your name? Perhaps angels have no names, just beautiful faces.
Perhaps angels have no names, only beautiful faces.
I was just like, I would use that line.
Right. Good,
like,
good Mac game. Good Mac game.
Yeah, I was like pretty slick. And then there was one. He's like, look at her. She's the one I love. And Chaucer's just like, oh, Will, you aim too high.
Jeff, 'tis my lady.
Oh, jeez, William, you aim too high.
Oh, if there's another way to aim, I don't know it.
Too high.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool, because it's another way of saying it's like, German, she's way out of your league,
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of like a slick way of saying it, a very different way of saying things. I just thought that was kind of neat. And then there was plenty of other things too, as well, just as far as like.
Let's roll back with the music, because I think that is one of the biggest elephants in the room. Is the soundtrack, because for people that go into this movie, if you go in with an open mind, to me, it's really modern and classics clashing together, right? You're having this medieval time, classic times, but then you're rocking music that some does fit and some does not fit. It almost feels like sometimes some of the rock songs are just there to be there and not really have a purpose to me. In that
I'll
sort of way.
explain a little bit of the thought process behind that, but go ahead.
But I personally have no problem with it, but I will say that there was a little bit too much of certain songs that it almost sometimes I feel like that they were really trying to pull too much of these popular music in there to help carry this movie a little bit on certain marks. Like for instance, like, I like the Queen song of the Stomping with the Stance, because it fit and it intertwined with that. Then you get, Lode Rider through their training, so there's certain songs to me, like, it did fit, but it did not fit for that. And I think the reason why I brought that up, because I can see a lot of people kind of clashing with that, is like I get it, but sometimes it could take me out of it, because this is supposed to be set in a classic time, and I don't see them doing anything very clever with it. Like I even let it slide for me with the Golden Years by David Bowie at the party. I thought that transition was cool, the way they did it. Like, you heard the classic music and they go in. I'm like, okay, so, and the clothes themselves to me fit that song. Kind of feels like a hippie kind of style to it.
Yeah, and I was gonna say we'll talk about that scene a little bit more.
But you not only just the music that's the big elephant in the room. You see a lot of modern stuff within it, especially with Jocelyn. That her clothing is very modern, which
is nice.
It's nice looking on her, but also it can also question of like, how come she's getting the nicest stuff ever? Like, who is making this stuff for her? Like,
she's like a princess, right?
Yeah, per se, right? At first, it was kind of misleading, because when Thatcher and Jocelyn first met, she looked like she was, she looked like she was going to a church.
Yeah, she was just another person. And then later on, you find out she's a princess of some sort.
Yeah, and she's rocking these like crazy outfits. Like, some of the outfits I let it slide, but when it comes to hats, it was more like, okay, now that's looking a little 80s, but it didn't hurt the movie for me. It was just one of those things that just. It just kind of stand out in that way, and that's why I think this movie kind of clashes with modern versus classic in that sort of way. Go ahead.
You're right. So there's nothing in this movie that tells you the precise date that this movie happened in, but the director said that this movie happened in 1372 specifically. 1372, and for a lot of people, I'm sure you guys are thinking to yourself, why 1372? Because Geoffrey Chaucer, as everyone knows, is a real person. And Geoffrey Chaucer is a real person who wrote. And you can trace his history every year except for in 1372, where he kind of disappeared. So the idea is that, in 1372, this could have been possibly what had happened to him. because as weird as it sounds, Sir Ulrich von Liechtenstein was actually a real knight during that time.
Mm-hmm.
He was a real knight, was deemed one of the people who created chivalry and courtliness, or being able to court. So it's kind of an interesting concept there too. But so the movie was set in 1372, based around Chaucer, more or less, as far as like the time period is concerned. And they did a lot of rock music that Jeremy had said from the 1970s, because technically 1372 is still the 70s. So that's why they incorporated a lot of the 70s kind of rock music too as well. So in a weird way, clever, kind of how this movie is just in general is kind of clever in what they try to do. So I think like what you said, I think it's a good mix of what's like new and what's old, especially like the Nike brand armor, which just like cracked me up. But I got kind of a weird beef with that dance scene that you were talking about.
Okay.
So I didn't know that, because if you and I were to do a scene in this movie where we were in there, it would be that one for sure.
Okay. And
this is why. Because, everyone starts busting out the dance, and I'll be like, Jeremy, no, I don't know what the hell's going on, dude. I swear I only saw them do three steps. They swayed one way, they swayed the other way, and then they clapped. That was the only thing they did. I don't know how to dance, Jeremy. I look at you and you'll be like rocking, doing your Jeremy thing as far as you're dancing, and looking at me is like, no, just do with the groove like everyone else does. But that's the part that I kind of wonder is like, so like, where did all those steps come from? How did they even know how to do all those other parts of the dance?
I will have one answer to that. I have a question to answer that. My
Go
question is with everybody knowing that dance, that is probably part of that kingdom. How did Heath Ledger just knows it off the block? I mean, William Thatcher, how would he know off the block? He should be the one lost out of everybody. Yeah. Like, I will let everybody in their pass because, like, okay, they might be from the kingdom. They have parties all the time. He's new to the party, and he's making up a dance as he goes. And then all of a sudden, he just knows everybody else's dance. And I believe he said, I don't never learn how to dance. So, like,
I don't know how to dance.
So, like,
yeah,
how did you just know this off the block? That's my beef with that scene. It's like, William Thatcher shouldn't even know. He should be sitting down on a bench or something.
So, unless Kate was just an amazing teacher, which she may be, like, I'm with you. I'm just like, so where did all this come from? Because Jocelyn saved him.
Yes.
She saved him. She saved him with the third step because he would basically swayed left and swayed right. And I was like, all right, I'm with y'all. I can sway left. I can sway right. We're good.
Now, I will say maybe, just maybe, it might have been the dance that they were teaching him in the barn. That might be the dance there. Is a possibility. Yeah. But I felt like they were trying to make up a dance for him to do there to kind of go with it. I don't know. There's a lot of unanswered questions there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like also, too, that... I also feel like, too, that the dance they were teaching him was not the dance we saw at the party. I don't know.
Yeah. Not at all, because let's just take this into the real world. If there was a flash mob that happened and I just happened to get stuck into the middle of it, you would just see me like looking around, just like trying to like mimic what they're doing and do it really poorly. So
yeah,
let's be honest with ourselves there. Like how he was able to pull that off. Maybe he has a superpower that we just have no idea. But there's no way that could have happened. No way. They would have been kicked out like they were. They should be kicked out and like singing in the rain or something for someone who messes up a step.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I mean, who do you think is the smartest of the group, out of Roland, Watt, Chaucer, Kate, all of them?
I would honestly say Roland. I think he's the most level-head person out of the group. Even though he was there, but he wasn't there. Like, he got, like, his only spotlight I think he honestly got was during the love letter scene. Like, he got a moment there. But, like, other than that, he just had these, couple of one-liners here and there. But I think that he was the smartest person in that group, because he was really just focusing what's going on. he was kind of helping William be more level-headed. I think so. Is that or the blacksmith woman?
Kate.
Yeah. So
there's those two. I would argue Chaucer is definitely one of them is up there too, because
okay.
I felt Chaucer was one of those guys that he just felt the moment, he knew what to do during those moments, and he improvised to stall time or to do other things to help the situation out. He had his own vices like gambling and stuff like that, but I think he helped the Paytons and nobility. He read them like a fiddle, that they needed them and that they were all fake.
Okay.
So I think he was up there too. I was sitting there thinking about it because I was like I said, there's a good argument for Roland as well.
Right. So with that being said about A Knight's Tale, I guess my next question to ask for you is, was there anything in the jousting that you wish you saw more of, or saw something that was a little bit different? Because like with the jousting, I think I got a little bored on certain parts because we're just keep seeing the jousting, and we got a couple like sword fights and whatnot. Did you wish you saw a little bit more variety of him doing other stuff other than jousting? So I kind of changed the question halfway. I'm sorry. So
no, you're fine. Because it kind of leads into my question to you, just in general too. Is like, would you stop competing in the sword just because jousting was the tournament champion? Like, you were earning money from the sword. But as far as seeing William do more, it would be interesting. I don't know what else you could continue doing, as far as besides the sword and the joust, because obviously the movie was revolved around jousting, and I don't really know what else you can do with the jousting.
Well, I guess it would be interesting just to see him try out new stuff, just to see what it is. I know he said he's the best with the sword and everything, but just to see, it's more for the movie's flow. It's supposed to be a little goofy, so it'd be interesting just to see him try something like archery. I think it'd be hilarious just to see him try to do archery and like, no, that's not your thing. Just to be funny with it in that sort of way, because it's basically to me, this is like a track meet. It's like basically a track meet. All these other activities, pole vault, high jump, all that crap, in different ways, right? But it's mostly just battling and all that stuff. I think it would be kind of cool just for goofs to see that, just for the hell of it. Or hell, even have some of the other characters compete and try other stuff. But then again, you have the rule of only royalty can compete in this, and that kind of sucks. So
yeah. No, I mean, it would be kind of interesting, or at least more montages on him trying to figure like different ways of him training. Would be interesting too, because who knows? It would be kind of funny if he was like chasing a chicken to try to like stab it with the joust or something along that lines, or because we didn't really see too much as far as the montages of them training as well,
right?
Because eventually he just kind of got good. But or even just like the differences, like if they had to fight while they were traveling from like one town to another, like if they had to fight off other things, and you get to kind of see him with the sword or with something else, with a mace or a different kind of weapon. Yeah, I can see that as well. I was just thinking the only thing I can think of with like doing something completely different with the joust is doing like a behind the back stab or something like that.
Yeah.
Or using the joust as a pool, like playing pool or something like that.
I actually did enjoy the pace of the movie. I thought the pace of the movie was fine for what it is. And it is very interesting that you really only get like 2 scenes of his flashback, if you really think about it. Yeah. And I think honestly that was enough. We were so in the flow because like this movie's really more about jousting than anything else. So having this backstory of William would do nothing for me, because it's like this movie's just supposed to be straightforward, just fun action and it's a fun little tale. So we don't need this huge backstory of who he is. And I guess I brought that up because I actually went a little bit teary-eyed when he finally reconnect with his dad, and he was blind. I actually kind of teared up. That was a very heartful scene for me, especially coming back to London and hearing everybody, when's the last time you've been there? He's like 12 years. I was like, holy crap. and then seeing his dad, that you realize that his dad sacrificed, everything for him to go take a chance of being a knight, and it's cool that he paid back. And that part where he's, he's slowly like telling him about what he's done, what he's been up to, and all this stuff. So that was a very heartfelt moment, and I'm glad that existed in the movie, because I think that gave him a little bit more for me to continue watching the movie. Yeah. Now, because I'm going to be honest with you, there was no reason for me to root for Williams because I knew he was going to do well. I never had a moment where I was like, I think he's going to lose. But that moment there kind of gave me that, because I was like, you know what? At least this felt kind of a little heartful that like he did that. I don't know. Maybe that's just me on that.
No, it was a very good thing. The one thing about this movie that you can't take away from it is that it made it really easy to relate to, kind of understand what he's feeling and all that stuff. Being in love, and then, having your friends help you out, and then being determined about something, and your friends are like, no, we shouldn't, but we'll be there for you. And then, you can understand what it would be like if your dad, like, let you go to try to be better to make a better life for you, and then you stepping in and seeing your dad again after a long period of time, or even just like a family member or whatever you want to see. I mean, just the same thing as well, it's like simple like little lines that they use in the movie that is just, it's something that just kind of hits you right there, Mm-hmm. Where like at the very, like towards the end, whenever he was fighting Adamar, you had Jocelyn show up with his dad, and then Chaucer announces them, and next, of course, Roland was just like, you hear that, William? It's like your dad heard that.
That's your name, Will. Sir William Thatcher. Your father heard that.
Mm-hmm.
It's that rags to riches that you're really rooting for him to be able to change the stars, to be able to overcome all that stuff. And the good thing about it is that, he did, he was a good person through it. So it was good to see like that get rewarded in the end, that, doing good things gets you rewarded at the end. It's kind of like the Karate Kid movies and like TV shows and stuff like that too. It's just like, if you do good things will happen to you eventually. So,
yeah. Go ahead.
I will say, I do agree with it. There's one thing I thought was that impressed me a little bit. So the part where, I don't know if it necessarily impressed me, but I thought it was really clever and something I hadn't seen done before. The part where she said that, where Jocelyn was like, to prove your love to me, you need to lose.
Wrong. Losing is a much keener test of your love. Losing would contradict your self-love, and losing would show your obedience to your lover and not to yourself.
Really? Yeah, I know you're talking about. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and I was just kind of like, that's a fair point, because that completely goes against everything that anybody would do or say. Because, I mean, it's not like you would do a Make-A-Wish Foundation and be like, I'm going to lose for you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was kind of neat. And then for her to come back and be like, well, if you really love me, then you won't lose at all.
She says that if you love her, you will not lose another match.
At all. Like when he has to clutch it up and be clutch. I thought that was really cool and really kind of fun as far as what it brings to the movie, because he went out there and he just took it like a G. He's just like, I'm losing, and they're like, why are you losing? Because I love her. God.
You got it.
Losing.
I don't understand.
Oh, neither do I.
Yeah. I'll tell you what.
What were you thinking about that?
Man, I'll tell you what though. Like that scene was enjoyable in that sort of way, especially when Turk was like twisting his arm literally with a machine, and he's like, it's like not good enough, and he's like, God! Not like torture, because like he hurt his arm.
Yeah, it's like, have you proved your love? Yeah.
Yeah.
And your love? Have you proven that? Yeah.
But I think William is a bad wingman. because he did not try to hook up anybody with Jocelyn's friend, and she's cute. No one wanted to try to hook up with her.
Christiana, I think that was her name.
She was a cutie. Like
I was gonna say, out of all the women in that thing, it's like an ongoing thing, Jeremy, between you and I, man. Which one would you have taken?
I would take her assistant all the way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you wouldn't take Kate?
Kate's cool. Kate's cool. Look. I'll have my reason for Kate. I have my reasons. Okay, but that's way later.
Yeah.
But no, like honestly, like I like Kate too. Like Kate was a good add-on, and I wish she got a bigger role. But
she's like not. That. She's like that homegirl that you.
Yeah.
That's cute, and you kind of like. Yeah.
Yeah, but out of Jocelyn and her, I would take her. Yeah, Christiana, I would take her all the way.
I would still choose Jocelyn because I don't know, something about Jocelyn is very cute to me.
She has a cute smile.
I do agree. Christiana is really cute too as well.
I'll tell you what though, I would be very pissed if I heard some of the back talk of people when they get prizes and what they do with them. Like, we honor you with this gold horse and everything like that, and then they take it like, here, take it and sell it, let's move on. I'm like the disrespect. Especially like the way they broke it up, like, here you go. It's like, do you want me to join you? No, get your piece and get out of here. And she Kate breaks the horse's head and throws it back. I'm like it's so fun. Even like the gold feather that they won, they're throwing up in the air like, yeah, and it's like, all right, so like 180, 85, 70. All right, cool. It's just so funny how at that time people just don't care about the prize. They're just like, is it worth anything? Because we need to eat. We need coins.
Yeah, it would be hilarious if they, if that could have been one of those hidden scenes where they walk into Adamar's tent and he's just got like trophies upon trophies of just him winning all the joust tournaments from before.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just like, oh, dude, we could have taken all this money if we wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I agree with you. I do kind of find it funny that they just tear down the trophies. And what good is that? What do you have to do? Like, do you have to melt it down for it to be worth anything? But I don't even know, man.
Because you forget at that time how currency works, where people are saying that if I have 50 gold coins, I can buy a tavern, and I'm like, what? like because you're trying to think of like, how does that work, right? Because like, how much is that in our modern time? How much would that be worth? Like, what's 50 gold to that? Like, is that $100,000 or like, how does that work?
I tell you what, it doesn't work like it does in video games. I tell you that for sure.
I was actually surprised that a lot of moments in this movie happened one time and never happened again. For instance, like Jeffrey's gambling problem. We only had that happen one time, and then after that, we didn't see an ongoing thing, which I thought it was going to happen. There was another bet that happened with the group, and they guaranteed one. But I thought this was something where he was going to still have this gambling problem. Even at the beginning when you found him naked, and he lied to get clothes and stuff, and then you saw it again. But I thought that was going to be an ongoing thing that, they're going to have to deal with. Yeah, right. But I think the only thing that was ongoing was the romance, because even with Adamar, I wish that was going a little bit more harder for this movie instead of like, here's part 1, we'll see you back in act 3, kind of thing. I wish he was more on the gas of competing with them and with him the whole time, because I enjoyed the smack talk that they had when they're beside each other. It was hilarious to me. By the way, I apologize in the early talk. He was not the character from Gladiator. I apologize for that. He's from Dark World, Dark City. Yeah. I always get those.
He's been in a few of those, like kind of like the medieval.
I don't know why they just so similar to me. I get them confused all the time. But anyways, I love the side smack talk that they talk to each other. Like, the whole like. Yeah, we're in talk for with her father, you know, so she's gonna be my trophy, you know, so she's not gonna be or a target, you know, like talking all this smack or embarrassing him about in front of everybody about when he came out to say hi to Jocelyn the first time to know what her name is and everything like that, and
because that was a slick line, so you have to step in and be like, all right, well I'm not as slick as he is, so I'm gonna have to like, you know, throw him down. It's just like, so what's your name, Sir? Is that what it was? Sir,
And you are?
Well, I am,
You've forgotten? Or your name is Sir,
Yeah, he had to go on a fence, and he could not stop for nothing. Like, I got to keep him going, or he'll think of something to hit me back with. So I got to stay on him. Yeah. I was disappointed, though, that how it ended between their battle. I didn't want it to be the whole, I have to risk the hardship of cheating right off the beginning. I wish it was more of him kind of towards the end where he started to lose instead of right at the beginning already hurting him. Because, like, you know, he hears talks like, does he have any weakness? He's like, well, you know, knock him out at night kind of.
How would you beat him? With a stick while he slept.
Night kind of joke. Like, no one could beat him.
Yeah. And on a horse? With a lance? That man is unbeatable.
And I would think he would be more confident, like, but I'm the best too, so I can beat him before breaking the whole tip of his lance, the cheat. I wish that was more like after he was losing, he saw the points, that then he stabbed, and then he started catching up with the points. Then we hit him with the finale of that blast. But I think it almost proved that he was weak to me at the end instead of being this badass. Insecure. Yeah, and that kind of hurt him for me.
Agree with you.
Yeah, so yeah, that hurt me a little bit about him. So
I do agree with you, because it was kind of like it wasn't like it's not like Gladiator where you're watching where you're watching
Maximus,
the Caesar, where you're watching the Caesar at the time, because you knew the Caesar was going to get his tail kicked by the Gladiator, by Russell Crowe.
Mm-hmm.
Like in this one, you thought that there was a legitimate, like, you know, they're both just as good as the other, you know, besides Prince Edward, which we know is pretty good too as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like that he's won multiple tournaments too. So why is he going, you know, what about William? How did William get so good at what he did? And it's probably just the armor. It's like the shoes. It's just the shoes.
Right.
Probably the shoes. It's probably the shoes. He's got some air. He's got some air.
Those air pumps.
Air armor Jordan 1s.
Right.
That's the reason why he's so good, is that he's got a weight advantage because of that. Because like, you know, he won quite a bit of tournaments, but that doesn't necessarily mean Adamar was bad, because Adamar had his own history of tournaments too, and Adamar hadn't lost before. So yeah, I agree with you. I was like, you know, resort to the cheating there, also telling on him for having somebody follow him. But I wonder if that's just one of those things where he's just like, I just don't want to deal with the guy. You know,
that's a factor. But I guess from a viewer, it shows too much of him being weak, and you're supposed
really
to be
insecure. Right?
Yeah, and the fact that, like, you walk out of the first act as a badass, and then you come back insecure, and it's like, the hell, you know? You want him. I wanted him to help push William. You know.
Yeah.
And he didn't push William.
Say, even his squire tried.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, his squire couldn't hold a candle to Geoffrey Chaucer, but his squire was just like, you know, to all you other people out there.
Yeah.
And all you other people.
Yeah, but I give him credit. He was trying. He's like, okay.
He was trying to his enormous manhood. You know?
Defender of his enormous manhood.
You know.
Right.
Just all this other stuff too as well.
Mm-hmm.
So he was trying. So I mean, and it wasn't like he lost to Edward, you know, because he forfeited before. And once they found out who Edward was, which, by the way, no one can say that Superman's disguise is a bad disguise, because with the half graded face where he, showed himself the first time. And, William didn't know who Prince Edward was to start with. So he showed mercy that first time around the fight, but he should have known it was Prince Edward as soon as he saw his face, or half of his face. So apparently William is not that in line with the English leaders.
Yeah, and then also the fact that the world's different. It's almost town to town. You have to learn about this stuff. That's why you have the crew, because Roland was probably the most knowledgeable person in that way. And Jeffrey too. Jeffrey was knowledgeable too. Those are your two most knowledgeable people that were going around to give William the information. Like, it's like, we need to retreat from this, because I honestly probably be the one that would run away when it was time for him to surrender after finding out that he wasn't royalty. I probably would have ran. I honestly did. I think I would not stand here and be tough about it. I would probably try to run, I would try to take my dad with me, though. Jocelyn was already like, now you and me live together. I'm like, ooh, you selfish girl. No, I honestly, in that point, I probably would run away, to be honest with you, because...
No! I will not run!
With you, because...
Yeah, I was going to say, that takes a lot of pride to stand up to someone.
Yeah, and I love the fact that, the, Sir, crap, you just said his name. Not
Edward.
Edward came up to him and, say, hey, it's also brave to run away too.
You also tilt when you should withdraw. And that is knightly too.
And but wait, when he gave himself up and he was being tortured in front of the public, I forgot what the mechanism is for that thing. Where your arms and heads are out, whatever.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but everybody throws fruit at you and all this stuff. But the fact that he revealed himself, Sir Edward, and told him, it's not wrong with that. And it showed me right there. It was like, yeah, I would have run away. Like, fight another day. Why not? It shows in this and it shows in this movie where, like, if in a video game, if you leave long enough, people are going to forget who you are and you can come back and just be a new person. That's what this really shows in this movie. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
So...
What's funny is Prince Edward, if he wanted to be an extreme dictator of his kingdom, he would have walked out there and just been like, apparently you guys have enough food, just throw it away like you guys do.
I know, right?
I need to take more money off of you guys.
You know why we do taxes now? This is what you do with it.
Yeah, this is what we're gonna do with it. One thing I do want to touch on, and we kind of shortly touched on it. I really like the letter scene. I think everyone got a little bit of themselves into that letter scene where they talked about the letter and just put their input on what they wanted to say to Jocelyn. I thought it was really well written and very beautiful in itself. And one of those things I wish I possessed that skill like Geoffrey Chaucer did, to be able to write that for like somebody too as well, which is probably why I'm still single. But But I wanted to touch up on that just because it was cool to see, like, it was kind of like a good touching moment for all of them to kind of be able to give a little bit of their way to help him try to hook up with somebody. You know what I mean?
And you learn a little bit about them too. You were about Roland was, about his last relationship. Turk, same thing. Kate, lost her husband. Like you learn a little bit. So it was a magical moment in that sort of way, where everybody gets a little piece. It's almost like the dancing too. Like everybody got a little piece.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
So yeah. Oh, I didn't want to end our conversation eventually without actually mentioning that, because I would definitely regret it, because I thought that was one of those things that had to be. That was one of those things that you could argue if you wanted to about cutting it, but I felt like it's kind of the things that we talked about where like it felt like it did something to develop more of the group and the characters, no matter how minute it might feel to the audience.
Okay. So my personal last question for you, and if you have any other questions after that, go ahead. But the one thing we didn't really touch on, and I guess it's more towards you, we talked about Jocelyn and William Thatcher, but we really never sat and talked about, did you enjoy their time together in a relationship back and forth in this movie?
Yeah, actually, I did. I mean, I really did like the Jocelyn and William, like, because she played hard to get, and he played hard headed, and you can, and there was like your typical frustrations and things like that, where like you may like a person a lot, but then they might come at you like at the wrong time, and you're just like, gosh, I am busy right now. It's like, what are you doing? Where that whole scene where she's just kind of like, I came to see what you're wearing. He's like, nothing. And she's like, well, I'll match and make the craze. And you're just like, yeah, you'll match. And of course, he's just like, oh, like, you just want to dress up all the time. And like,
well, don't you ever get tired of putting on clothes?
Roland had to show him. It's just like, she means like taking off her clothes. And he was just like, oh. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think this movie does a good job of like having those moments of like, like it's supposed to be like you're supposed to be excited and happy about it, but then they kind of f you around with it a little bit. So like like those little things, they do a good job of ruining moments, I guess. It's like at the very beginning, like William was just standing there and he was just kind of like he wants to change the stars, and he was just like, I've been waiting my whole life for this moment. And then Watt was just like, oh wait, you've been waiting for Hector to shit himself?
I've waited my whole life for this moment.
You've waited your whole life for Hector to shot himself to death.
You're just like, what? Can't you just let him have a moment of him just talking to himself, motivating himself? What the hell, man?
Yeah.
So like they do that like throughout this entire movie, like all the time, where like you think there's a save, but then you're just kind of like, oh well, there's something else. Like, wait, what? Or Roland knows how to actually make a tunic. And then, like, he's like, I can't dance, though. And you're just like,
oh. The tunic up quite nicely. Give us your dagger, Watt.
That's not a disaster, Roland. I don't know how to dance.
And you're just like, oh, that sucks.
Right. The relationship.
But I really did like the relationship. Sorry, to kind of go back. I really like the relationship because I felt like it had its ups and its downs. And it really did kind of exemplify like the mistakes that a typical good guy would make trying to court somebody, because it is true. It is great that they did a group effort to get this letter written to you, but that shit's going to come back to you. She's going to be like, I want to hear poetry. And he's like, I'm not a poet, so I really don't know, even though he just wrote this beautiful letter, you knew it was going to come back at you if you like screwed up the situation. Next, of course, you can be like, you get all macho about it back in high school. You're just like, I'm going to win this for you. I'm going to, you say stupid stuff as like, I'm going to do this and do this and do this for you, It's like the flanks of my horses and stuff like that.
Tournament, I'll win it in your name. Every knight I defeat for you. Your beauty will be reflected in the power of my arm, the flanks of my horse.
And stuff like that. And you're just like, well, that's not romantic at all, is it?
Right. You're like every other guy. Like, what's different,
Exactly. It is like you did a good job of getting her attention, but, sustaining that attention, you can completely see him effing it up. You can completely see yourself doing the same thing, Or at least I can see myself doing the same thing, is just effing up, my chance. Which I've done plenty of times in my entire life. So it's just effing up my chances. But I think it went well because I felt that it was believable.
It is interesting that William is very straightforward no matter what the conversation or where it goes or everything. And then you have Jocelyn that kind of plays mind games. Because one of my favorite parts is when she snuck in the tent to go see him. And it was after the jousting where he had to lose on purpose and then win on the next match, and he's hurting. And I love the fact that like I'm sorry. It's like I feel like it's my fault. It's like, well, it is your fault. Like just straight.
This pain is my doing.
Yes, it is.
Like just straight up, like thank you. Like don't say no. It's like no. Like straight up, like no. It's your fault that I'm hurt like this. And then and I love that because like she knows it, and she knows she has to make up for it. And that's why I kind of cherished that moment. I thought that was really cool. It made up for all the other stuff, because like I honestly kind of didn't care for the whole church thing, only because I didn't like the camera shot. I didn't like the camera shot of this long panned out, let's follow them and then go back and forth and all this stuff. It kind of overstayed its welcome in that particular scene. But I did like the tempo. I think that was right there. Like, I liked their relationship from there, because right there was like William finally got his cake and eat it too, to say to her, like, it's your fault I'm in this situation, you know, with these mind games and everything you did. And then you saw her like kind of just backed off and just be normal. And so, you know.
It's a unique way to win someone over, I'll tell you that much for sure. I didn't mind the church scene as much as you did, mostly because I think it was more of a setup to see how cunning she was. Because I kind of liked that whole ordeal where she had that priest who was just like,
she went gangster. That was cute. That was a cute gangster thing. Yeah. It cracks me up when she tells people off. It just cracks me up because like, you're in a church. I was like, excuse you.
Excuse you, don't you yell at me and leave him alone just because he's a man and I'm a woman? It's like,
woman. Do not me and spare him. Now be gone. Go.
Oh, like,
ahead of her time, most definitely.
I was like, ooh, okay, all right, like, you know, got a little sass in you, you know, and so. But that's my last question. Anything else you want to add?
I think we touched about everything. I think we both kind of have an agreement, but we'll just move on to the awards.
Okay, so how about you start it off?
All right, so we're going to go into our awards. Our first award is, "Oh, You're Making Me Live. You're My Best Friend," which, hey, with all the Queen songs that they had on here, I was surprised that one wasn't on there.
I don't think it was the right. I don't know where the right time that would be. You know, that feels like a song that you would walk in the field, or you're walking together doing something like that.
I wonder if it was like, you know, if it was kind of like the end where it's just him and Jocelyn. Like, I think that would be the.
I think it would have been funny, just a goof of William being tortured to see her go shopping, because you know she goes shopping or something like that, and he's like, "Ooh, you make me." He's like, "Oh." That'd be funny. And then that's where he got the scarf that he's supposed to rock. Is like, she brought me a scarf. Yeah. And so
the scarf was on the ground and Adam lifted it up. Yeah, that was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So, I have to also mention too that, you know, well, I guess I'll mention in the Best Friend Award. So it's You're My Best Friend Award. So technically speaking, the question posed for this award is who would you take as a best friend out of all the characters in this movie? So the nominees that I have was Roland, Chaucer, Geoffrey Chaucer, Kate, and Watt. Which, by the way, you know, I know we didn't talk about this. Watt did kiss William. He did it like a G.
Mm-hmm.
He kissed William to let William know that, you know, that he got kissed by Jocelyn, which was also one of those moments that you should feel happy for the dude.
Yeah,
'cause he's excited that he got kissed. William was still super excited, but Watt kissed him, and you're just like, wow, Watt really took it.
Yeah.
Technically speaking, Watt got kissed by Jocelyn before he could kiss Jocelyn, so there you go.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never really sat there and thought about that. Right?
Add a way to ruin a happy moment there, guys. Jeez.
Yeah. Hey, Williams should get the girl, her home girl. Yeah. Shoot. After that, like,
That's what you assume. You assume Roland gets it, but out of those four, as I have listed, and of course you can add whoever else you want to add. I put those four as people that you would take as your best friend. Anybody else you want to add?
Nope. You got the top four, and I know who I want. So,
all right, go ahead.
Oh, Kate, all the way. Yeah, Kate is awesome. She does not get a lot of show, but she is cute. She's adorable. She's hardworking, and she's goofy in her own way. Like, I think what made me attached to her was the dancing part, where she was teaching, she was observing and being goofy about it, and then showing them how to dance and everything. And I think that's cute of her. After she was kicked out. She was kicked out of the group. Like, they didn't want her, but she happened to come by, and she managed to linger her way back in the group. And then every moment she's on the screen doing something, it was funny to me. You know, she was a homegirl. I would take her as my best friend for that. Like, She would be so much fun. I think there's more to her that they didn't show. So yeah, I'm a Kate.
Yeah.
All the way.
I can definitely understand the choice of Kate too, because it's not going to be my ultimate choice, but I would explain that, you know, I'd feel this. She reminds me of somebody that I know now, as just far as like a friend is concerned, and someone that that would be cool. The next, you know, you might try to hit on just for the sake of hitting on, and then you know, see where it goes. If it doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't go anywhere. But it's whatever, you take your shot, right?
Can I say one thing is interesting about Kate and Jocelyn and all this stuff, because this is interesting for the movie. The color of the changing of the hair was interesting, because it's like, okay, that's all I wanted to say. I forgot that's a little modern of people coloring their hair just to color their hair.
Yeah.
So anyways,
that was kind of unique. That was kind of unique from Jocelyn doing, I guess, kind of like feathers or whatnot in her hair and stuff like that too.
Yeah, because Kate's hair had some little green streaks on there too and whatnot. So.
Yeah, which is definitely different. Yeah. Ultimately, I think I would. It's either between Watt or Chaucer, actually.
Really?
And I like Roland, but I think Roland is. I think I have a lot of similarities with Roland.
Okay.
So I'm not exactly sure. Chaucer, in a sense that I think he would. Just because he has a way of being cunning and you know, being able to be friends with him I would definitely grow in a different aspect. But I would probably choose Watt, and I'm going to choose Watt because he's got your back no matter what. I think Roland's got your back no matter what too. But Watt's one of those guys that'll get into a fight for you for no reason.
Yeah.
And then, you know, he would you know, he would just be there and he's got your back. Chaucer would be a good hype man. I think for you, Chaucer, just a hype man to get people hyped up before you go out and dance and stuff like that. I think Chaucer would be that hype man, but I think Watts would be the one I would choose just because I think he would get my back. Plus, I do that was one thing I did hate about him in this movie, is that he made everything sound so fucking good. I was so hungry.
Tansy cakes with peppermint cream, dilled veal balls with squash fritters.
When I was watching this movie and I was like, I can't eat. It's too late in the night for me to want to eat. But I was watching this movie and I was like, I don't even know what tandy cakes are, but they sound fantastic with peppermint cream, whatever it is. I don't even know what it is, but I want to try it.
Chaucer would be dangerous for me, just because, like, in this movie, he didn't have his gambling problem kind of stopped a little bit. But I think, like, he has a talent, but he would cause. I think he'd be more trouble than it's worth to me. You know,
we have a friend that has a gambling problem. I don't know what you're talking about.
His name will not be said in the show. All right, keep it under your chin. Anyways, so no, that's a good pick because Wyatt would get your back no matter what. I mean, hell, he loves fighting. Like, any reason for him to throw a fist around just makes him happy. You know, that's his tribute. His contribute to the group
at all times, dude. Like, you'll know exactly where he stands with everything, so you don't have to worry about trying to like figure it out or anything like that.
And like, as long as you get him what he needs, and he don't need that much. Like, he just like, look, make sure we get enough money. I'm good. All right, I'm down for anything you want. You want me to beat somebody's butt? I'll do it. Let's do this. But don't lose because I need the money. So, you know. Yeah. So okay. All right. My award is. Thanks. I owe you one. This movie had a lot of interesting awkward moments just for the awkwardness on purpose. But in these awkward moments, someone always kind of jumps in and tries to save the day. Especially because in this movie, all these characters, except for like Jocelyn and Kate, the main four, well, actually the main three, actually, because Jeffrey's not really part of it. Those three guys are really fresh and new to the world of jousting, kingdom, all this stuff. So the movie portrays. Because, you know, you find out that Roland knows a lot, Wyatt knows a lot. But when it comes to like jousting and all this stuff, they're kind of fish out of water on certain areas. So there's some awkward moments, but people come save the day. My first nominee one is Jeffrey's first speech after being saved. So Jeffrey when we find out at the beginning that Jeffrey was naked, it's because he actually had a gambling problem that it was revealed later. And after they bailed him out for that situation, William had to hurry up and go into a sword fight, won the sword fight. And then Jeffrey goes in for his first speech. And he just goes into this poetic thing that we dum-dums would not understand where he's coming from. You know, he's going all Shakespeare-like. So it gets quiet, and he gets saved by Roland by saying, like, yeah! And everybody's like, yeah! Like, they didn't get it, but like, oh, that's a good thing. Everybody yell. You know, so that's one. The second one is the party where William gets called out by Altair, or not Altair. Why did I say Altair? Adamar.
Yeah,
Adamar. I don't know why I said that. Adamar for saying like, hey, that was a good call on him, but that was messed up. Like he was like, hey man, what kind of dance did people do in Gondaland? You know, like so he had to make it up as it goes, and he was doing okay, and then Jocelyn had to come save the day and finish it all off. You know, so good for Jocelyn for that. And then the last one is actually at the very beginning where Jeffrey was walking past the group naked, heading to town, and William took the steps of giving him clothes and helping him out because that scene was awkward. Also, after Wyatt threatened him a lot of times after that, too. Like, if you screw us over, I will do... Right. So, that one, and then my last one is the dancing, where it got awkward, where Jeffrey was trying to help them dance with their counting. Then he gets punched in the face by Wyatt, and then gets saved by Kate of teaching them how to dance. Those are my nominees. Any you want to add to?
I mean, you can also include the Chaucer buying some time before the fight, whenever he was getting strapped on from the joust.
Okay.
I also put that Roland knew how to sew, which was like the most random thing. It was like, Squire, tell him what I'm gonna wear, and he was just kind of like, it's like green, a kind of green trimmed with like toggles, and he's just staring at the tent. He was like, I can make a tunic out of this, and you're just kind of like, what? You can make a tunic out of this? So yeah, I do agree with you on the choices you had, because I also had that written down where Chaucer's just like, we walk in his turbulence, and everyone's just like, what?
Mm-hmm.
The other one that's kind of cheap that I wouldn't necessarily say is on this, but deserves an honorable mention, is Prince Edward coming in there and knighting him.
Mm-hmm.
Even though that was a thing, Prince Edward did do that, where he said there were people who were from an ancient line and you couldn't contest his word. So that was kind of a save in itself too, as well. So that's all pretty fair for me. I think. That's tough. You know what? I want to go with Jocelyn saving the embarrassment, because she's at such a high nobility. She didn't necessarily need to do that, and that goes to show that she was, even though she's cunning and all that good stuff. She has she really likes this dude, and she went out of her way to show him that she likes him, and it was a good, nice gesture from someone that's so high up there.
Okay. Mine
that or Kate, one of those two, because I thought Kate was really nice too as well.
Yeah. I like the Kate one too, but I think the one I'm going to pick the Jeffrey one because that stand out the most to me. Because that was supposed to be Jeffrey's intro, his first time, by coming in with his hype man, and it didn't work out. And I think Roland we just took a guess to me in the dark on that one. So I like that one, especially like everybody froze. And I feel like if everybody froze, in that moment and listened to somebody, what's going to happen compared to the dance and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. So, okay. With that being said, I want to thank everybody when we go right into our Rotten Tomato talk.
All right, sure. Thank you everybody for listening. So Rotten Tomatoes is just as you guys know, is a way that a lot of people go to and check out the ratings of what critics and audience think about this movie. And we do so too, the same. So we always wondered whether we lean more critically or we lean towards the audience. So the critics rated this movie at a 59% out of 150 reviews, and the audience rated this movie at a 79% out of 378,687 reviews. Jeremy, which way do you land?
So,
are you the arrow or are you the target?
So I'm the arrow with the 79. This is a fun movie. It's fine. You wouldn't put this in your top fantasy medieval movies, probably. You would put it as a fun fantasy movie for what it is. I enjoyed it for what it is. It took some ideas and tried it out, and it was thank goodness that the jousting and the characters were so much fun that you can get past some of the little things, like the whole modern trying to fit in the classy with the music and the clothes and all that stuff, because it was so entertaining, because the jousting was awesome. Even though there was a lot of it, each clash was awesome, and the fact it's all real. That was cool. So yeah. So I'm a 79 or 78.
Yeah, 79. You're right.
Okay.
I'm gonna go 79 too as well with the audience. I'll lean toward the audience on this one because kind of like what you said too. It's not, I can't sit here and tell you it's like my top 10, top 20 movie, but it's definitely a movie I can watch over and over and over, because no matter what, it's a good journey. It's a good story with friends, and it makes you feel good at the end of the movie, no matter how many times you watch it, Like, what's coming up, but it still makes you feel good. You feel good for the characters. You feel happy for the characters. You feel pumped up for Geoffrey Chaucer's speech. You feel you laugh at Watt and his interactions with Chaucer, and I think it carries itself well. So it's definitely an enjoyable movie, and to me it wasn't made for something that was supposed to be like Academy Awards worthy. It was just something that you throw on that you can watch over and over again and just be entertained by it. No matter how many times you watch it. So I give it a 79 for that, because 59 is a little bit too low for me.
Okay. So with that, we are part of the In-Game Boss Program Network, game and other variety shows. And please enjoy all our other content on the network. If you are watching us on YouTube, thank you for watching us. Leave a comment down below and tell us your thoughts about Knight's Tale. What side do you swing on the Rotten Tomato meter and whatnot? And while you're there, go ahead and subscribe. That will be really helpful for us as you enjoy all our other great content on the YouTube page. And of course, remember, we are also on Facebook and Twitter, so definitely reach us there. For Twitter is @ProgramIn, capital P, capital E. And then, of course, In-Game Boss Program on Facebook. And for all the listening places, they're all in the description down below. If you're on YouTube, it is up in the right-hand corner. You can check that out. And also, too, something new. By the time you listen to this, it's been on Twitter for a while. There is a Linktree. So with the Linktree, that will give you easy access to everything all the platforms that we are on, if you prefer to do it that way too. So with that, thank you so much, and we will catch you on our next episode.